This podcast is not for the overly sensitive, the terminally optimistic, or anyone who thinks dating in your 50s is a whimsical romantic comedy. Listener discretion is advised.
You're in the right place. Girls Can Tell with Trent Erickson.
There's something I've been noticing lately, and I don't think it's just me. I think there's a lot of people in the same place. You're on the apps. You're still swiping, matching with people, and having conversations, but something feels different about it than it used to. It feels heavier, like effort, like something you're doing because you feel like you should be doing it, not because you really want to. And there's a word for that. Actually, it's 2 words. Burned out. And the problem is, even when you know you're burned out, you don't stop. You keep swiping, checking, and responding, even when it doesn't feel good, because stopping feels worse. At some point, the apps stop being something you do, and they start becoming part of your routine. You wake up in the morning, check your phone, maybe swipe a little. You're waiting in line somewhere, you open the app, swipe a few more. You're sitting on the couch at night, TV on, half paying attention, swiping without even really looking. It's not intentional anymore. You're not even fully present when you're doing it. You're just doing it because it's what you do now. And if you didn't do it, it would feel weird, like something's missing. You don't really miss the people, you miss the habit. It filled space in your day, and now it's just there, another automatic behavior you don't even think about anymore. Another thing that starts happening when you're burned out is conversations have a different feel. At the beginning, when you first get on the apps, everything feels new. You're curious and interested, you're paying attention to what people say, and now you can feel yourself just going through the motions, asking the same questions, getting the same answers, and having the same conversations you've had 10, 20, 50 times before. And you start making assumptions faster. You look at a profile and you think you already know what's going on. You read a message and you're already half checked out. You match with someone, and instead of thinking it could be interesting, you're thinking, let's see how long this one lasts before they disappear. That's fatigue, and it shows up in other ways too. You set up a date and you don't even feel like going. You're hoping they cancel so you don't have to, or you go, but you're not really there. You're polite and present enough, but not engaged. You're comparing them to people you've already dated and notice what's wrong before you even give them a chance to show you what's right. And afterwards, instead of feeling excited or curious, you're just tired and done. When you're burned out, you get irritated easily over things that shouldn't matter. Things that in a different state of mind you'd barely notice. Someone takes a little long to respond, whose first message is generic, photos are slightly inconsistent, uses a word you don't like, or mentions something that on paper looks like a minor red flag, but in reality, you have no idea what it means about them as a person. And instead of giving them 5 more minutes, you're done. Gone. Next. The problem is, most people aren't themselves in the first conversation, or the second, or honestly, even the third. Think about it from your own perspective. When you start talking to someone you don't know, you're not fully relaxed. You're not saying things you'd say to someone you've known for 6 months. You're feeling it out. You're figuring out the dynamic, doing some version of small talk everybody hates, but everyone has to get through to get to the actual person behind it. That's just how human beings work. The personality that shows up in the first text exchange is almost never the real personality of the person. It's the careful, edited version that's trying not to say the wrong thing before they know what the wrong thing is for you specifically. And when you're fresh, open, and curious about people, you understand that instinctively. You give it time and push past the surface level stuff because you know it's surface level and you're interested in what's underneath. But when you're burned out, that patience is gone. Well, you should be reading the first message as an opening to a conversation. You're reading it as evidence, scanning for the thing that confirms what you already suspect, that it isn't going to work out either. And the moment you find it, or think you found it, you're out. You're not giving people the benefit of the doubt anymore. You're not asking yourself whether what bothered you is a meaningful signal or whether you're just tired and looking for a way out. You're making assumptions about who someone is based on the most limited possible information. A few photos, a short bio, 2 text messages, and then treating those assumptions like facts. And the irony of it is, the person you just dismissed in 30 seconds because something felt off, you don't actually know that your instinct was right. You told yourself it was a red flag, but a red flag might be just an irritant. One is something real about a person. The other tells you something real about where you are right now and where your head's at. And when you're burned out, you're not in a position to accurately tell the difference. which means you're screening people out who might be wrong for you, but you're too depleted to find out either way. You might be passing on someone worth your time because you're too burned out to get past the first 5 minutes of awkward small talk that every single human being on earth has to get through with a stranger. And that's an issue. You don't owe anyone your time or attention, but if you're on the apps to find a connection, burning out and staying on them anyway might be working against your goal. One of the ways you can short-circuit the burnout filter, or at least test whether your instinct about someone is real or just fatigue, is to get off the text exchange faster than feels comfortable, with a simple phone call. Because what a phone call does that texting never will is remove the editing. You can't sit there for 4 minutes crafting the perfect response when someone is on the other line waiting. You get the real version of the person faster in an actual cadence of how they think, if they can hold a conversation, and whether there's any natural chemistry in the way they communicate. And more importantly, it takes you out of the swiping environment for a few minutes. You're not half watching TV and half texting someone while half checking 3 other conversations. You're actually present with one person for 20 minutes, and it changes the dynamic completely. A lot of people you would have dismissed in text because their opening message was a little flat or small talk felt tedious turn out to be completely different on the phone. And a lot of people who seemed great in text turn out to have nothing when you actually have to sustain a real conversation. Either way, you find out faster. And finding out faster is the only thing that cuts through the burnout. Burnout that comes from endless, low-investment scroll doesn't survive real human contact nearly as well. Everyone says something like, take a break, step away, and reset. That sounds simple. Thanks. I never thought of that. Because the second you think about stepping away, another thought pops up. What if I miss someone? What if the one person who I would have actually connected with shows up while I'm gone? Which sounds irrational when you say it out loud, but not when you're in it, because the apps create a fake feeling that something is always about to happen, just one swipe away, like a song constantly looping the pre-chorus but never playing the chorus. And stepping away feels like stepping away from opportunity, even when it hasn't been working out. And there's the advice I've mentioned before. Just get off the apps and meet someone in real life. Thanks, guy. Another thing I never thought about. That sounds great, except it's not reality for most people. Because if you were meeting decent people easily in real life, why the hell would you be on the apps to begin with? You didn't download Hinge because life was overflowing with great women growing on trees. So the idea that you take a month off and suddenly dates are coming out of the woodwork everywhere you go is not how it works. You're not stepping out of a system into a better one. You're stepping out of the only system people use. And why taking a break feels risky, even though you know you probably need one. Now, I'm in this right now. That's why I'm talking about it. I can feel the difference between when I'm engaged and actually curious about meeting someone, and when I'm just going through the motions, swiping because it's what I do, responding because I feel like I should, not because I even want to. And I know which version of me is more likely to recognize something good when it comes along. So I don't have a clean answer. I'm not saying you should delete the apps. I'm not going to tell you to push through it either. But I will say this. Pay attention to how it feels, not what you think you should be doing, how it actually feels. Because if you're getting irritated over things that don't matter, dismissing people before you even know them, stop giving anyone the benefit of the doubt, or small talk feels like an insult instead of the beginning of a conversation, that's probably burnout talking. And staying in it when you're already depleted rarely leads to anywhere good. Maybe you take a break, maybe you stay, but at least you recognize what state you're in and adjust what you expect from yourself while you're in it. Either way, the goal is to get back to a place where you'd recognize something good, a place where it would register with you. Because right now, if you're being honest, you're probably not sure it would. And that matters more than how many times you swipe. Just for now.